say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Some Random Guy Speaks. I am your host, Tony Love, and we are about to get started here today. Let's put some more light in this room here. All right, there we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's actually better here. Yeah, I'm on a different streaming software here, but that's okay. All right, so we're going to get ready to get started and things. This is early for me, and I know it's early for a lot of my followers as well too. But not to worry, we're going to go ahead and get into the show momentarily and things. So I appreciate it if you guys were to hit the like button and the subscribe button. And those have already hit the subscribe button, you know who you are. I appreciate you very, very much. And things like that. There we go. There we go. I appreciate you guys, though. So just wait for some people to come into the room. We got a lot to talk about today and things, and we're going to be talking about Trump. We're going to be talking about America First versus the DSA. For those that don't know who the DSA is, we're talking about the Democratic Socialist America, the largest party in America, right? And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some things as to what they stand for. Beta! Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what the DSA stands for. We're going to get ready to get into it, ladies and gentlemen, get into it. So without further ado and things, let me see here. A lot going on. So I guess some of the guys, people will catch up and things. So we're just going to go ahead on. Because I normally started a little later, but that's okay. So what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is Tony Love and things with Some Random Guy Speaks, coming at you live and solo. Today's topic is simple. Trump is winning against America First policies, and the DSA is losing. No surprise there. While the Democratic Socialists of America, commies, right, and their allies keep pushing the same tired idea. Open borders, soft on crime policies, higher taxes, more government control, ladies and gentlemen. Trump is delivering results that actually put America first. Look at the scoreboard. Borders crossing down, deportation ramping up, energy production is up, right? Inflation cooling, companies bringing jobs back, the middle class finally getting some breathing room, right? That's not theory, that's policies that work, ladies and gentlemen. So the DSA crowd, for Democratic Socialists of America, for those that don't know, crowd wants the opposite. They celebrate defund the police experiments that made cities less safe. They treat illegal immigration, right, like a human rights instead of the law, right? Look at this, boy. I tell you, they push rent freezes and tax, or actually push rent freezes and wealth taxes that drive businesses and taxpayers out of places like New York. You seen this? Look at this, boy. They talk about equality, right? This is another thing. While working class communities, right, pay the price. America first is the opposite approach. Secure the border, enforce the law, keep energy cheap and abundant, protect American workers from unsafe trade and mass low skill immigration, right? Put citizens first, not the loudest activists or the global bureaucracies. Trump didn't invent this, he just had the spine to actually do it. And every time the numbers improve, safer streets, stronger wages, right? This is another thing, right? Stronger wages, more energy independence, the DSA's narrative to get weaker. They can call it fascist, racist, or whatever, right? A new label they invent this week. The results just keep coming in. People notice. Working class voters notice. Even some lifelong Democrats are noticing. The American first isn't about left or right. It's all about whether the government works for the people who live here, right? Pay taxes here and raise their children here, or for I would say for ideological experiments that keep failing. Trump is proving, right, the first option still works. The DSA keeps proving the second one doesn't work, right? This is the story here, guys, and what we're talking about. And basically, looking at it for here, we're going to be also talking about the DSA and what they stand for. The DSA, right? But before we do, let me go ahead and look in the chat to see who came on here. All right. Not yet, though. I know the early slot is usually not my time, but I usually have a slot here, usually in the afternoon or evening. But I'm doing this one here, no worries and things. I said I was going to knock this one out early, though, before I go to work. Yeah, so wanted to talk about that. We're going to also be talking. Let me see here. I just want to keep my comment box open here. All right. So here it is. So we're going to get into the DSA. It stands for the Democratic Socialists of America. It's a political organization in the United States that promote democratic socialism. Members and aligned politicians often support policies like expanding social programs, stronger labor protections, higher taxes on wealthy, and more government involvement in areas such as healthcare, housing, and economy. The recent political discussions, including those involving Trump and America First policies, DSA is commonly used as a shorthand for this group and its influence within progressive and left-wing policies. Really call it far left-wing, and to be honest, Democrat Socialists of America is the largest socialist organization in the United States. Its official position are laid out in its national platform and programs, including the recent Workers Deserve More programs. Here is a clear overview of its majority, right, policy positions, drawn primarily from DSA own manual, right? Here it is. Labor, and he said, economy and labor, 32-hour work week with no reduction in paid benefits, right? Strong expansion of union power and labor rights, right? Tax the rich, higher taxes on high earners, corporations, larger inheritance, right? And private university support a wealth tax, the Green New Deal, right? Massive public investment in sustainable energy and transit, right? Phase out of the old fossil fuels, public ownerships of majority energy and transportation infrastructure. So with this new Green Deal that they were trying to push since Joe Biden, that Trump stopped, our fearless leader, So what's going on here is that they still want to move away from the old fossil fuel, right? They want to push energy. When they talk about energy, it's coal for, electric vehicles, right? We already know that when you look at electric vehicles, right? Electric vehicles, it costs more, right? It costs a lot more, right, to power electric grid, right, by far. It's not something that's easily to do, right? Look at it. But they were trying to push this nonsense, right? They want to take away our gas vehicles. I wouldn't even mind a hybrid. Hybrids work a lot more efficient than full electric vehicles, right? And then they wanted to do this with transportation. This is how the crazies on the far alt left, and this is their thinking and how they are, because it's really all for themselves. And then when you start to think about when they say tax the rich and all this other kind of stuff, I'm looking at some of their policies here. Here it is, federal jobs guarantee. So what they're telling you, ladies and gentlemen, is that the DSA wants to expand the government. Not that it's already expanded. And like I said, when you create more government jobs, guess what? You create more inflation. The higher, more government, and this is what they were doing on the left all these years, right? And people, what you got to understand is that what causes inflation is overspending of government, right? And the Federal Reserve Bank. Not one of them even talked about even auditing it from the far left, because once again, they're part of this. This is all conglomerate with them and the Federal Reserve. So this is what causes inflation. Inflation steady goes up. It doesn't go down. As long as you got the Federal Reserve, central bank, and then you got these DSA people, it's going to just get worse and worse, man. Federal jobs. Just think about it. Trump got rid of a lot of federal jobs, saving the taxpayers millions, right? Millions of jobs were saved, right? Long-term goals for public ownership and democratic control of the largest corporations and key interests right here. So this is what they're saying. They're saying to you about the largest corporations, right? And they're really talking about public ownership. They want to take over, right? This ain't about public ownership to the people. This is really underlay for the overplay, because ultimately they want to seize public businesses and companies and take it over. Mondami already have mentioned this, right? Boy, I tell you though, let me take a look in the chat and then we'll get back. Okay, nothing there, but that's okay. What about healthcare and housing and education, right? We're talking about Medicare for all, single payer system with no premiums, copay, and all this other stuff, right? But with a reduction in gender affirming care. So that right there, they're still pushing the gender thing, right? We're talking about changing of the genders, right? They're pushing it still. And the question is, what about the housing? It says housing for all, large scale, publicly owned social housing, universal rent control, and guaranteed rights for all tenants. College for all, tuition free, public higher education, free room and board, and cancellation of all student debt, right? This is the one here that gets a lot of younger people and trap or actually entice them, right? Paid family leave support for working families. Listen, they had this in these other socialist countries. You remember the Scandinavian countries in Europe? They had all this stuff. No one ever asked, how do they afford to do this? But it was off the back of the taxpayers of America. That's how Scandinavian countries were able to do this. Trump even mentioned how they were doing this, right? But the question is, once again, how are they going to pay for this, right? Because if they hate capitalism so much, then where's the money going to come from? Mondummy and all the rest of them. The DSA is basically just putting out policies that they cannot back up. That's the question that all of us, because if I had him here right now, I would say, how are you planning to pay for all this? Sounds great. No student debt, but how are you going to pay for this? You talking about big government, hiring more people in government. How are you going to pay for this, right? You talking about the new Green Deal and setting up like a electrical grid to power electrical vehicles. It takes money. Where is it going to come from? Because when we look at people like Mondummy, right, he has actually alienated the corporations and businesses in New York. They said, to hell with this, though, we're going to leave, right? And that's what's going on right now. New York is a representation of how poorly that the DSA has been running a state, right? A city, excuse me, a city. And we can already see that people are feeling the crunch there. Others that decided to leave because they already see what this DSA is truly offering, right? None of them have ever explained how, right? How are they going to pay for this type of stuff, right? Because when you really look at it, socialists, Marxists, communists, however you look at it, originally, before it even goes into full-blown communists, they have to use the money they take from the capitalist, plain and simple. And this is what they've been doing, right? They want to penalize capitalists, right? A little bit more. And all it does is just push them away. They go to another red state like Texas. Texas is banging. Florida is banging. And those are just two of them. When you start looking at more of the red states, more of the conservative states, they don't have the problems that California has, as well as New York. When you start looking at places like Portland, right, and Washington State, these places are a hotbed, right? When it comes down to a poorly ran economy, you're looking at welfare cities and so forth, right? That they have created under the Democrats in general. And then when you look at the DSA, they know better. It's actually worse. That's why we call them commies, because they're on the cuff. We already know it's not going to stop with socialism. Once they started bleeding up all the money, let's just say they won the midterms and did all the stuff they were going to do, they're going to impeach Trump, right? They're going to hire more people back in the government. They're going to raise the inflation higher. They're going to steal from the people, which is the taxpayers, right? It's a never-ending wheel with them. And they will use up all of the capitalists. I'm talking about capitalists. They'll use up all their funding, right? And then it turns into full-blown communism, right? Where you have a centralized government that tell the people what to do, this and that. Everything will be regulated. It is worse. We in America have never experienced communism, right? We experienced socialism, but we never truly experienced communism, ladies and gentlemen. So that's the thing in regards to that. It's a communism. We don't need this, right? At all. The only reason that it appears that socialism is working because it pulls from what the socialists with these programs. Where do they get the money from? They get it from the working class people. That's where the money comes from. When people think that these government set aside programs are free, no, that money is being taken from the working class people and the people in these corporations. The problem is that they just mismanage the money so bad, right? Instead of educating their people, right? Getting them out here, getting them off of government subsidy programs. That's what has to be taught. How do they get off of these government subsidy programs? Instead of telling them that they're a victim, they're Black, racism, they do all this stuff to keep their constituents under their control, to keep them voting for them forever, right? You look at 20 years go by, 30 years go by, 40 years go by. Have they improved their lifestyle? Absolutely not. It's still as if it will always was, right? Look at it. Look at it right now. And I always use like communities such as the Black community as a prime example. We know what a welfare state looks like because all you got to do is look at the government, look at the welfare cities that they created under the demo KKK rats. And this is where we are here, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we are here. And I appreciate you guys for coming on and things, but this is basically what it is. They don't want to have the real conversation, right? They don't want to deal with the real stuff. We already went over with some of the things when it comes down to healthcare, housing, and education. How are they going to pay for it? You see what I'm saying? How are they going to pay for it? You know, because I remember the old system, right? When we were able to pick and choose our healthcare, whether you had HMO or PPO, these were options and stuff like that. This is what they're basically claiming that they're going to promise, lower deductibles and stuff like that. But it's a bait and switch. The Democrats have always used bait and switch, right? Because they're going to bait you and then they're going to switch. Now, if you really believe that student debt, the cancellation of all student debt, do you absolutely, truly believe that the DSA is going to be able to promise that? Because once again, we have to ask where the money coming from. It's just that simple. Where are the money coming? Where's the money coming from? Right? That's the thing about it. Because without the capitalists, socialist dies. They have to have something where the money coming from. That's the thing. All this stuff that they're trying to promise, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, we're not going to go for the okie doke. Because like I said, when have everything that they have promised, I'm talking about the demo KKK rats, everything that they have ever promised, we give them an inch, they take a mile, 5 miles, 10 miles, 15 miles, 20 miles. This is what they do. There's nothing constraints, right, within. They do this on purpose, right? They're going to take advantage of it. If they ever get in power, they are going to take a full advantage of it because they hate Trump. They hate his first America first agenda, right? This is, again, when you start saying America first, we're talking about left and right, right? Or in the middle, because you all live in America. And right now, the far alt left DSA have offended, have embarrassed their own. I mean, I'm talking about people that were lifelong Democrats and moderates and so forth. They got away from that, man. Like I said, Bill Maher is one of them. You know what I'm saying? John Fetterman, man. These guys are like, they're like this because nobody wants to be associated. Every time my dummy opened his damn mouth, I mean, you know what I'm saying? A mayor that's acting as a president, like he's elected president, violating the Logan Act, having a secret meeting with Iran. So, and then he wants to sit up here and deny it and play stupid when they actually have evidence of him conspiring with the Iranians, having a secret meeting, right? They got you, my dummy. That's the thing about it. You think that people don't know this? It's crazy, man. Their whole policies are crazy, man. That's why they can't defend this craziness. They can attack us personally, which to me, it don't matter to me. But what I'm saying is that when we start to look at true logic and common sense, that's all it is. True logic and common sense. And I realize this is not my usual time slot in the mornings because everybody expected me to go live later on. And that's fine. But the problem is, ladies, and besides that, that's cool. It just turned into a video for later on that people will watch it, you know, and that's okay. But ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand, you know, they're talking about criminal justice. Let's talk about that too, for what the DSA believe. Criminal justice. They talking about fight mass incarceration, right? Right? And police brutality, right? Reduce police budgeting. This is really defund the police. They did try to do this before, remember? With BLM and all this stuff. Orientations of many chapters and past performance, right? In war on drugs. They never in war on drugs. Trump is in the war on drugs. This was just a basic commonplace speech coming from the left, war on drugs, and they never have. The cartel was never threatened when it was under the Biden administration. If you were to look at the Obama's administration and so forth, they were, even with the Bushes, the drug cartel was never threatened. You ain't never seen a president, right, that went after the cartel. Nobody but Trump. Everything else is a lie. You know what I'm saying? They were working. We talking about our CIA corrupt 1.0. We have rogue agents over in Iran, rogue agents in Mexico, rogue agents all across the world talking about war on drugs and human trafficking. It never happened. You notice they ain't mentioned nothing about human trafficking, right? I'm over here looking at it right now. You ain't nothing over here with their policies. There's nothing on human trafficking, right? Talking about war on drugs, that's just a buzzword. Because if you look in the past administration, outside of Trump, they say, yeah, war on drugs, but it never happened. We had an influx of fentanyl coming into this country before Trump shut down the border. Facts, right? Trump built a wall and would have been completed had Biden would have did what he did. But we know Trump knew Biden was not going to complete that wall. And he took the scraps and the material and sold it off for very cheap. Trump knew this was going to happen. But how do you catch a criminal? In other words, the old saying goes, somebody famous once says this, when the enemy is in the process of destroying himself, what is it that you got to do? You allow that enemy to do so. Therefore, you can capture the evidence. And that's what they did. That's what Trump did when they actually they actually ousted, right, a duly elected president, which was Trump. And it had to go back. It had to go down in 2020. That's why they were putting out these threats coming from the left. If you are an election denier, they were threatening you. Why did you threaten them, right? Because they didn't want the truth to come out. That's why people were threatened back then. Boy, I tell you, immigration, here's another thing. They're talking about freedom of movement. Workers should be able to migrate without restrictive controls, right? They're talking about immigration. This is the thing right here. It's kind of vague, but we know we can read between the lines because what they're saying is if you are a illegal alien, you should be able to move around free up, without having the threat of ICE, right? Look at this. Demilitarize the border. This is another one. They want to remove the military, right, from the border. So that way they have it like it was before under Joe Biden. They still believe, right, in mass immigration, ladies and gentlemen. They did under Biden. Do you think that the DSA has changed their mind? No, they still want illegal aliens coming in this country, right, by the mass, right? In all immigration detention and deportations, right? They're telling you. They are telling you, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I said when I'm walking this all the way down to the midterms. See, my detractors and so forth, they have no match because I have their policies. I'm over here reading the DSA policies, right? It should be pretty clear. We know that Trump is doing a wonderful job to stop this. And then you got these people that want to push for this, man. This is crazy, right? What about the intermediate, or they want to say immediate amnesty for all immigrants, regardless of status? So you could be a criminal, you're going to get amnesty, right? Think about this, ladies and gentlemen, what I just read, right? We're talking about immediate amnesty for all immigrants, regardless of status. So you can be a criminal, a rapist, you know what I'm talking about, child trafficking, and all the rest of the stuff. They're saying it doesn't matter. We want you over here in America because it's all good, which is not. This is why they hate Trump. We're talking about them. The DSA, I'm going to go out here and say it for what it is. They're all linked with the deep state. This is deep state policies, man, to be honest. Full access to jobs, labor protections, and social services for immigrants. They did it already before. Y'all remember under Joe Biden? They did this already, right? They took these government subsidy programs, right, and leapfrog over the American people and gave it to their illegals. This is why we started noticing things and problems, right? We look at longer wait lines in the hospitals, more traffic on the road, jobs from Black and brown and poor whites. Their jobs were being taken by these immigrants, right? Because they had first, everything was first. Look at, they were paying them EBT and all the rest of the stuff. That's what I'm saying, though. We know their history because we've seen it after 2020, right? Joe Biden, 4 years, we saw this stuff. This was going down. They even had a major, Aurora, Colorado, right? It was under siege by who? I believe it was Trinde Alagra or MS-13. It was one of the two. They had that city on lock, man. They sure did. It was a damn shame. A city that was under siege in America because of their BS policies that they're trying to push here for America, man. That's the thing about it, right? What about the foreign policies, right? They're still so concerned about free Palestine and in the U.S. military or whatever, right? Look at this. They talking about the military and the economic aid, weapon sales to Israel. You know, this is the type of stuff. This is why they're losing, ladies and gentlemen. They are crazies, is what we call them. Crazy commies, right? In the U.S. war machine, right? Significantly cut the military budget, close overseas bases, and end the foreign wars. Now, we know damn well that they are not going to close the bases and end the foreign wars. If y'all remember, we had so many military presence, right? All over the world. This is rhetoric that they use to try to win votes. Because if you notice with the Dems, right, and these DSA and all of them, every time they try to claim that they're going to push a policy, you notice the policy change once they're in power, because it was not about, you think they're going to remove the bases of the world? No, they're going to increase them. Trump has been removing the bases. Trump has been, shrinking down government to about 30%. Trump has stopped the war, right? 8 wars, working on 9 with Iran, right? They want to make it sound like Trump even started that war. It was a war that started with Jimmy Carter. Facts, right? So we have a president that is fearless, that is going to end this thing eventually with Iran. It wasn't something he started, it's something that he's ended. And that's what my detractors and liars and so forth on the left won't mention, that truth, right? I'm over here looking at all they bullshit policies, man. I can see right through them because it doesn't hold no real weight. It's just lies and deceit and trying to play sympathy on your ears because they're trying to sell this, right? And they've been doing a horrible job because they don't believe in this stuff that they're claiming, right? In economic sanctions on countries like Cuba, Venezuela, and Iran. Think about it. They said they want the sanctions to end. Anybody that know these countries represent what the DSA is about now, right? A lot of the people that are DSA, they have been trained in some of these countries, right? Especially Cuba, right? Just look at Karen Big Mouth Bass, right? They were trained to do what they're doing now. Once they've been trained in the communist camp, then they come over to America, right? They get these these jobs, right? Local government, and then start to branch out. We know the game. We know the playbook. You know, you can't fool us, right? We know the game. The democracy and government statute, right? Calling for a new democratic constitution. I want you guys to pay very close attention. What they're trying to do is that they're trying to rewrite history because they hate. See, with a DSA, true DSA for Democratic Democratic Socialists of America, they hate our Constitution. They hate, right, the republic, constitutional republic, right? They can't stand it. So what they want to do is they want to draft up a new democratic constitution, right? Where it says abolish or sharply limit the electoral college. They hate the electoral college, right? This was something that was in our Constitution because Hillary Clinton, right? She is to this day is still right angry, frustrated, and upset because she said, "I could have beat, I could have beaten Trump. The only thing that was in my way was what? The electoral college. This is why they want to get rid of it. What about the reduce the power in the Supreme Court, limit judicial review? We already know that the Supreme Court, three branches of government, we're talking about executive, legislative, and judicial, right? This is the thing. So with the when we're talking about the judicial, we're talking about the Supreme Courts. They already told you that they want to pack the courts with their radical judges, right? They don't want to deal with no conservative whatsoever. And they won't stop there. They want to take, they already have done a great job of removing majority conservative radio, conservative news online. Fox, I believe, is one local. We got Newsmax. There's a few other ones, right? But they want total when I'm talking about total totalitarian rule when it come down to this stuff, man. That's the thing, though, because if they were to do this, where we have these radical ass judges, you are already seeing it already at the lower courts, right? The circuit judges and so forth. They were trying to reach out to the executive order. We ain't never seen this stuff. You know what I'm saying? They ain't never seen this stuff before. The executive branch trying to tell a duly elected president, which is Trump again, what he can and can't do. You know what I'm saying? This is why we have the Constitution. We have checks and balances, and they hate it on the left, right? We expose all this stuff, right? Expand suffrage, right? Including positions supporting voter rights for non-citizens. I want you guys to pay very close attention. They're not hiding it. These are their policies from the DSA. They're telling you that non-citizens deserve a right to vote in our voting process. This is why they was against the American Saved Act, right? They wanted the mail-in ballots. They wanted the fake, because they were creating the fake IDs, right? This is how the cheating apparatus was created. So therefore, the Democrats can remain in power, right? The way that because we always know that they are a minority group in America. They're not the majority. They have always been a minority. And when you are a minority, you are a cult, right? That's the thing about it. Remember, you guys seen that when Kamala Harris tried to run against Trump, right? And it was very embarrassing at the same time. It was so embarrassing with Kamala Harris. They faked those numbers and make it look like she didn't lose that well. We're talking about, lose that bad. But when you look at like Trump, once again, 77 million plus voted for him. Kamala didn't have a chance, right? Man, boy, I tell you, it's just funny though. But they're telling you, right? Non-citizens and incarcerated people, right? These are the people that have a right to vote in the voting process because they need these people in order to be relevant in the future. They're letting you know, right? Get money, right, out of politics. They're saying get money out of politics. Get money out of politics. Do you believe that? Do you believe that the DSA is going to get the money out of politics, right? Get money out of politics. Yeah, they're going to get it out of politics. And we know one of the biggest money makers was the USAID. You know, we would have never known this type of stuff, ladies and gentlemen, if it hadn't been for Elon Musk and Doge for the Department of Government Efficiency, right? This is where it is. Boy, so let's talk about their core orientation. DSA described itself as fighting to put working class in control of government and the economy. Have that ever been before? No. They never put working class. They put criminals. They put people that can be bought, people that didn't have any type of scruples, people that can just say, hey, we'll take the money. You tell us what to do. We'll make it happen. That's what they did. This is a history of them, right? It seeks, right, reform that weakens corporation power in the short term while building towards a socialist society in which major productive assets are under public or democratic control and the basic needs are guaranteed as rights. This is what the slick stuff is. My dummy, our dummy, have already told you guys what it was. Talking about seizing these, we're talking about private. This is unconstitutional. We're talking about private businesses, landlords. So he figured, okay, if you're a slumlord, you deserve to have your business taken from you. That had never been American at all. And they wouldn't like it if it happened to them. No one would, right? Boy, I tell you, man. So yeah, so here it is right here. So let's see here. It seeks reform that weakens corporate power, as I mentioned before, in the short term, while building towards a socialist society in which major productive assets are under public democratic control, and the basic needs are guaranteed as rights. These positions are not merely rhetoric. Local DSA chapters and elected officials align with the organization, such as members of the squad of various states' local office holders, regularly advocate versions of these policies, right? Boy, I look at it. So these are the things, ladies and gentlemen. These are what we're dealing with here. This is what is going on. And I got to say this, though, too. I'm just over here looking at some stuff here and things. This is why America first wins versus DSA socialism. This is why, and we can critique it even further. We can critique this all day because, like I said, the DSA don't have nothing to stand on. It's just lies and deceit, right? We're talking about supporting criminality, right? We're talking about illegal aliens being allowed to come in the country and stuff like that. I mean, that goose have already been cooked. People are not stupid like that when they're going to vote in some type of commie to come out there and take their businesses. Everybody is looking at what they're doing over there in New York, right? You see it in California as well, though. You're seeing it in these blue states, man, which are terribly ran, right? Look at it. Boy, I tell you, these are welfare states, is what it is. So, you know what I'm saying? Boy, but as I said before, ladies and gentlemen, they do not have a leg to stand on. And right now, Trump and the America First campaign, right, and policies, we're going to make sure that no legs grow, right? We're going to stop it, and we're doing a great job with it. Because like I said before, and this is to my detractors, you haven't named anything as a policy to stop what Trump has going on. Remember, Trump resonates with the American people. You guys don't. All you do is name call, scream, holler, shout, and just really throw up a lot of rhetoric. That's all the baseless claims, phony. I've researched, checked them through the fact check. They just come in here and they just keep doing it. They make themselves look foolish and stupid. So the critiques of the DSA, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about policy positions that come from multiple directions, whether it's a classical liberal or free market economist, right? We're talking about center, left, Democrats, conservatives, and even some of the Marxists, right, who view the organization as insignificantly radical, which they are, or strategically flawed, ladies and gentlemen, right? The main lines of this criticism focus on the economy, incentives, historical evidence, national security, and institutional design, right? Number one, let me get some water here. We're going to get into this. Number one, economic and incentive critiques, right? These are amongst the strongest and the most evidence-based objectives, right? So we're talking about Medicare for all, single-payer healthcare critiques, right? We're talking about critics argue that the fiscal cost is enormous, estimated often exceeded over 30 trillion over a decade, and would require massive tax increases that hit far beyond the very wealthy. Vermont's attempt at the single payer collapse under the cost of projections. The opponents also point to reduce innovative incentives, long wait times observed in many single payer systems, the political difficulty of eliminating private insurance for tens of millions of Americans, rent control in housing, right? These are the things, ladies and gentlemen. These are the things, though, you know. So, like I said, they haven't shown from the left, they haven't shown where, because look at it, Obama, anybody can say Obamacare. They haven't shown any, they don't have no, they don't have any W's. They have L's. They have L's in the Medicaid, Medicare. You have L's there. They have L's on the rent control and housing for all. That's called the ghetto. That's called the projects. Remember, they did all this stuff. You got to keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that the so-called Black community today, when we had a community and the community was destroyed, this came under the same socialist programs, right? And look what ended up happening. It destroyed the nucleus of the Black family unit. Can anybody say the Welfare Act of 1965, the Great Society, Lyndon B. Johnson? This is one of the main tools there. Once the community was pretty much destroyed, that's not a family when you got a woman and children. It got to be a man, woman, and child. That makes up a family, right? They destroyed our communities, man, with this socialist crap because it hasn't come to fruition. It made it worse, right? The jobs and so forth, the skilled labor and everything like that, man, it was brutal, man. Instead of educating the people and so forth and preparing them for the future, what did they do? They just made them a victim. These were people that are the victim class, right? Where they're angry, hate America, hate whites. They say that racism and all this other kind of stuff. They voted for a man that was a racist, and that's Lyndon B. Johnson. He hated Black folks on record and off record. The N word it was commonly used, you know, even to Martin Luther King. People don't even look at the history of the Democratic Party. And this is the reason. That's why I'm saying when we see social, I see the stuff because I see a lot of their policies that they promised. It destroyed the Black community, right? This is basically what it is. I'm talking about your common places, Black community cities. They turn them to welfare cities. Detroit is one of them. You start looking at Cleveland, right? You start naming these cities across the United States. They were welfare cities, high in crime, violence, drugs. You know, I've said this over and over and over. Underserved communities, right? Disenfranchisement, right? And they want to say because racism caused it. No, racism didn't cause. Well, racism under the Democrats caused this. This is why we see what we see right now. And now they're taking the same thing, the same old overlay for the underplay for the overlay. They're doing the same old thing, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, I tell you. Yeah, I'm telling you, same old thing. Rent control and housing for all. A largely body of economic research across cities and decades finds that the strict rent controls reduces housing supplies, discourage maintenance and create shortages. New York's long experience with rent stabilization is frequently cited as evidence that the policy makes the problem worse, for new renters while benefiting existing tenants. Large-scale public housing construction is also criticized for high-cost bureaucracy, as well as the historical mismanagement of the U.S. cities. Remember, mismanagement, A lot of whatever the Democrats are offering, I'm talking about the DSA now, it's going to be mismanaged. You saw that with the old Democrats, progressive Democrats, It was mismanagement of the funds, purposely, because it was all about enriching themselves while the programs that they claim that they support and so forth have went straight down in the toilet, man. You can't fight against this type of stuff. You can try with lies, but all we have to do is look at the history, because when you don't learn from the past, you are doomed to repeat it. And this is the main reason. This is why my so-called community, Black community, they haven't learned from the past. And this is why we are repeating the same old cycle until you decide to break the cycle. You want to champion being Black and being a Democrat, but what are you getting back? You still have ghettos. You still have dilapidated neighborhoods. You still have crime. You still have violence. You still have disenfranchisement. You have gang activity and drugs. This was all purposely planned, man. Straight like that. Instead of looking at that as a logic, you want to fight against this. You want to change the subject, and I'm not going to allow you to do it. We are staying on course, right, of this particular topic that we are talking about, because not only that it impacted Black and brown, but it impacted America because it started bubbling out. Look at the welfare states, welfare cities. Look how they're being ran. Look at Illinois. Look at Chicago primarily, right? A lot of these places were hotbeds for Democratic mayors, Democratic leaderships, right? Democratic policies that have failed the American people, opening up a sanctuary cities and so forth. And you mean to sit up here and tell me that your policies work for the people? I got a bridge to sell you. And you know that's a lie, because we can look into your history on your policies and they have never benefited the American people. This is why America First resonate with left, middle, and right? And a lot of them show up in my room, right? Nobody making this up. They're talking about 32-hour work week with no pay cuts. Here's this, right? But they ignore the basic labor. Look at this, man, reducing work hours. Do y'all believe? I don't believe anything coming from the far left, alt left. I don't believe any of this stuff at all, because they have a track record of promising their what they over promise and under deliver. Or no, they don't even deliver at all, right? I don't believe in any of this stuff. But I do believe that the Green New Deal scam, this global warming stuff and all this other crap, it's nothing but a scam, ladies and gentlemen. It always have been, right? They want to take away our ability, right, to produce energy. Coal, right? There's one of them. There's some other ones that we produce here in America as well. But fossil fuel, this is the backbone that drives American standard industries, right? When you take that stuff away and talking about windmills, right? Talking about solar panels and stuff. Look at Germany. Germany destroyed their reactor. They destroyed the ability to be able to produce energy, right? We're talking about these energies that I already mentioned. When you take that away and go to this and that, talking about, because China never got rid of theirs. That's crap. If you think China is using windmills and solar panel energies, alternative energy, they are not. China have been firing up the coals. They've been running coal. They've been running fossil fuel energy and so forth. They're not giving theirs up. But the Europeans were told that they had to give theirs up because they're being controlled by the parasitical elite class. They destroyed their power, right? We're talking about natural energy. That's why Trump declared America as a natural energy, right? Independence, right? We're not doing have to be dependent on Canada. We shouldn't have to be dependent on no nation other than the United States, right? So therefore, we will make sure that these far left, whacked out crazies, commies, will ever take over America, man. That's the thing about it, because it's pretty evidence. I have walked this stuff down, ladies and gentlemen, and sometimes I have to come back again to get you guys, because right now it's pretty evident. It ain't about convincing at this point. You know crazy when you hear it. The crazies that come in this room, they don't have any policies. They know how to attack, try to get you go, try to get you upset. That's why I want my moderators to be a little bit more disciplined, right? Just be a little bit more disciplined. If they get out of line, you know what to do. But you don't have to go ham on these people. They're going to call you names too. I don't crash out because they call me a name. They call me dummy, call me Uncle Ruckus. I get all this stuff, right? But I'm still here and I'm still producing great content for the most part of it, right? This ain't about answering their questions. We way beyond that. The questions I don't even care to answer for these lunatics, these crazies, and these communists. I don't care to even have to deal with that. We stay on the facts around here. Everything you've been hearing me talk about is facts. We talk about the border, right, and immigration. They're letting you know, right? Look at that. Demilitarize, right, the borders, right? End the detention and deportation. Immediate amnesty, right? We talking about, they call it the freedom movement. This ain't no freedom movement, right? These illegals have been in our country utilizing our resources, right? This is the problem. Crime has even gone up. And Trump took a stand to that, right? Because we've been getting them out of here. Trump have cut them off, right? For being allowed to be able to utilize government subsidy programs. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful thing. It's just win after win after win, right? They put a strain on public services, housing, wages, and high immigration areas, right? Reduce ability to screen for security of criminal risk, right? Boy, I tell you, they don't want this vetting thing. They just want them, hey, come on over in America, come on over. Because ultimately, we know why they're doing this. Because these are their future constituents, right? That's going to vote Democrat. They need to have an external, right, which is illegals, to come into this country to vote to hold up the Democrats. If that wasn't true, and for you Dems, I'm talking about the ones that support what they're selling you. You know damn well that you don't even have the people. That's why you got to have people brought in here illegally to keep your phony house of cards and things up. I mean, it's a house of cards, ladies and gentlemen, that's falling down. Let me look into the chat a little bit. Boy, I tell you, man. But yeah, this is basically what it is. Yeah, coconuts are real. Shout out to you, man. I'm cooking as usual, right? Yeah, cooking as usual. I cook these foods, right? We got Dakota in the house. Man, we got Brian Reedy. Good morning, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate y'all coming in here and things like that. But yeah, I've been cooking them, man. Cooking them. They no match for us, man, at all. All they could say is, oh, Trump is evil. Trump is evil. That's all they could say. Trump is evil. When I've been over here running down all their policies, do you absolutely believe this rhetoric coming from, who is that, Eric? I remember this person before. Let me see here. This is coming from, what's that? Angelina. Yeah, this is coming from Angelina, though. She's absolutely mentally gone. That's all it is. It's a prejudice of a white man. She want to make this white man the problem why America is going to hell. Actually, America has been turned around. He stopped the endless wars that was going on. 8 wars, working on 9 with Iran. That shit had never started. That went back to Jimmy Carter, as I said earlier. That's why I say, man, it's child's play when they come in here, man, and they talk this crap. You absolutely believe that this guy Lynn and all the rest of them, do you believe what they're trying to sell you? They ain't been selling you nothing. They haven't did a great job of it. I have a bet because I have a sales background, but this ain't me trying to sell Trump policies. Trump policies stand bar none because we're experiencing what Trump's policies have already been implemented. We have, lesser problems now, right, than we had before under the socialist, Democrat, Marxist rule commies, right? Facts. Because if they really had it, my dummy should be doing well, but he is becoming to be the most hated mayor. Lynn, you can't sell what you're talking about. You can't sell it. Nobody want to deal with your questions. I see what you're saying, but it's at this point is moot because you ain't saying nothing. Every time you come in my room, you never say anything. That's why I don't read your ish, because you're talking ish and gibberish. You're not even dealing with what's reality and what's really going on. I've defeated your talking points many of times. And for the rest of you on the far left, rah, whoever is paying you, whatever, if it's bots, you ain't got nothing for me. You never did. So stop it. You need to give up, because I'm still talking about Trump's policies are far superior than what you're selling on this DSA stuff. It's a bunch of crap, you know? Bunch of crap. Because like I said before, if you ask these guys how they going to pay for this stuff, that's the Achilles heel right here. How you going to pay for it? Because we know that it has to come from the from the capitalists. Because the communists don't produce anything. Socialists don't produce anything. They're not creating businesses. They're not creating jobs. They're not setting up infrastructures. All they know how to do is take. And then they blame it on somebody else. Ain't that right? Ain't that right? Agnes, welcome to the chat, man. Yeah, oftentimes the left is considered their own questions, right? Intelligent. Unfortunately, they are not. Yeah, they really aren't. They don't have anything. They're not smart people. They're victims and butthurt and crash out. You see that anyway when they come in this room. And this is why we cry me a river, because we don't care. What you selling, Lynn, and all the rest of you, and Angelina, and all the rest of y'all men coming in here, you ain't been doing a good job of selling nothing. Tony gonna cook, and that's what I do. I cook because we put sound logic and reasoning and common sense. All you trying to do, Lynn, in the game is push rhetoric, right? And it's just crazy. You are crazies. That's what we look at you. That's why you can't defeat us on Trump's policies. That's the thing about it. Trump got the W's and you got the L's. Facts. You have the L's. And who's been making you guys look really stupid and bad is Mondummy in New York and Gavin Knucklehead Newsom over there in California, right? Ain't that right? Ain't that right? You know what I'm saying? Boy, they can't. That's the thing about it. It's so embarrassing. When you got Bill Maher doing this, I just left. You got John Featherman. This is an embarrassment. His party is an embarrassment. And Lynn, you are an embarrassment for trying to push rhetoric. You should be ashamed of yourself, man. You know you're getting paid because this defies logic. Lynn could be an actual agent, man. I believe so. Controlled opposition. I think he is an agent. I think Mudbutter is an agent, to really be honest, because he's been in a lot of people's every conservative MAGA chat. He's always there, and he's like a professional. Most people be at work. I'm surprised Mudbutter ain't in here right now. You know what I'm saying? It's just embarrassing, man. This guy is a joke. Are you kidding me? That's why they're laughing at you, Lynn. They're laughing at you and Angelina. Are you kidding me? You guys ain't got nothing. Nothing at all, man. Boy, I tell you, it's just really sad. It's a joke. That's what I'm saying. Am I triggered? I've never been with these fools. I've never been triggered with these guys. Because what it is, we've been walking down the nonsense. And one thing that I can do, it's easy for any of us to cook it. I'm not no special talent, right, per se, but it's easy when you're using common sense and logic. You can just do that and cook these fools, you know? I played the dozens growing up in the Black community. We used to cap on each other. It's so easy because the Dems, I'm talking about these people that the DSA, let's be clear, there's no more Dems. It's all DSA now, Democratic Socialists of America, which is basically communism, right? That's what they are. That's what they preach. We know rules for radicals, Communist Manifesto. We know we have your playbook, sir. We understand you very well, sir. We have your playbook, sir, right? Boy, I tell you, cry me a river, man. No one cares, Lenny, right? No one cares. You've been in my room. You're more welcome to come in here, but you make yourself look dumber by the minute. We know that you are an agent. It's obvious that you are an agent. You are an agent, sir. That's what it is. We can tell agents that come in here. Lenny boy, I like how Dakota said that. He's been crying the whole time. He's been crying on the whole time, you know. Look at him. He talking about debate, man. You're not even worth my time or anybody's time to debate because you ain't never been talking about nothing, Lenny boy, right? You ain't been talking about nothing, right? Coconuts Are Real says, breaking news. Jill Biden was arrested today for illegally disposing a body. They were putting her in the car, right, with Joey. Okay, let me take a look at that. Is that for real? Coconuts Are Real? Hold on for a minute. Hold on for a minute. Let me take a look at that. That's the breaking news now. Hold on for a minute. Let me take a look. Let me get on my hold on for a minute. Let me get on my hold on for a minute. Let me get on my ground news. Hold on for a minute. Let's take a look at it here. Get on my ground news. You know what? Hold on for a minute. I got my ground news up already on my other. Let me see. I open up Safari. Ground news. Okay, here it is. Let me take a look at it. All right, hold on for a minute. Let me see a Jill Biden. Let's just do this here. Jill Biden. Let me take a look. Let me see. Jill Biden stated that the former president Joe Biden is doing it. Okay. Is that really real though? Coconuts Are Real? Because I don't see anything like that right now. You said that's a breaking news? Let me see here. Oh, it's a joke. Okay, I'm about to say because I was about to, that's all right. I was gonna check. I was gonna check. You know what I'm saying? But it'll be the day that these people will be arrested. Do y'all really think that Jill was a Cybo Biden? I mean, it's Jill Cybo. You said, do y'all think that not Jill Biden, but I was gonna say, do y'all think that Jill Newscomb, do y'all see her being arrested? Right? Because I do. A lot of these people I see arrested, man, But yeah, I started the stream a little earlier. I said I had to use my other stream because my main one I use, man, it's a RAM hog and it uses up too much bandwidth on the Wi-Fi. It just was not happening yesterday, but I'm on something different and things. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is what it is. Dakota says, yes, we know. Rather have open borders and illegal aliens raping, murdering, and stealing land. Yeah, he can't even get past this nonsense. Lynn, stop it, man, because you're making yourself look like a real idiot right now. I'm reading the actual playbook coming from the DSA. No joke. No joke. This is what they stand for and many more. Lunacy. Lunacy and common indecency. That's what they stand for, man. Knock it off, man. This stuff right here, boy, I tell you, man. Yeah, I tell you, though. He can't even get past any of these talking points that the DSA stands for. So I guess he's going to get up here and just say that it's all made up and it's all a lie. Yes, you're still taking the L because nobody's buying it because they can look at California. They can look at all these these blue states, blue cities, and you can see the evidence of what it really is. You're taking the L every time. Let's do it right here. It is. You're taking the L every time, man. Taking the L for a loser, right? Yeah. See, and that's what Lynn, he's so butthurt. I know when I got you, Lynn. You can attack my educational background. But the point, everybody understood the point. Is that all you got, Lynn? You still up? You think I'm gonna be triggered because you're calling me uneducated? You come in a chat room, you come on my channel talking, and if you're so intelligent, why would it matter to you, right? Wanting to talk to me if I'm so uneducated? Remember, I'm the uneducated person. You're on my channel, begging to want to talk to me. Right? Where's the value at? Who has more value, me or you? Oh my goodness. All too easy. All too easy. That's why he crashing out, because nothing to crash out. I've been doing this stuff, Lenny boy, for a while. You know, you come under here under a hidden name that nobody knows. In all this case, you make yourself look foolish and stupid. You really are. Now I'm gonna start. Should I start roasting Lenny? Yeah, I think I should start roasting Lenny. Yeah, because Lenny deserved to be roasted, ladies and gentlemen. He over here dealing with somebody that he calls, "You're uneducated." Yeah, Lenny. Oh, Lenny. It's okay, Lenny. Oh, Lenny. It's okay. It's okay.
Beta!
It's okay, Lenny. It's okay. You can cry like a little baby. You know? Oh, look at him, boy. Lenny. It's okay, Lenny. It's gonna be okay.
Beta!
It's gonna be okay, Lenny. It's gonna be okay, though, you know. It's gonna be okay. You know why it's gonna be okay? Because we have a president that is large and in charge, and that is President Donald J. Trump, the 45th and 47th president, right? Making moves with policies that work for the American people, Lenny. We ain't got to go back and forth. I'm just saying, though, you know, it is what it is, right? Boy, I tell y'all, man, ain't this a beautiful thing? He's triggered. He's upset, right? And so it's just so all too easy, ladies and gentlemen, you know. And I appreciate you guys, man. If you hit that like, comment, right, and things, and subscribe, you know, I appreciate it all, though, you know. And you can share this information with family and friends, you know, because everybody love it when I get over here and get the cooking, you know what I'm saying? And I've cooked him before. Well, who's been dropping nukes in here? You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. I need to have a bigger, louder explosion. You know what I'm saying? Oh, my goodness. Boy, Lenny boy, Lenny boy, Lenny boy. Yeah. Oh, Lenny boy.
Beta!
Instead of Danny boy, Lenny boy, Lenny boy. When will Lenny boy learn? Lenny boy, Lenny boy. You know, oh man. Lenny boy. I like this. I'm gonna have to record myself and make a song strictly for Lenny boy and all my detractors. You know, that's what I need to do. I'm gonna make you famous, Lenny. Lenny boy that hides his face. Oh man. Looking like a disgrace. Oh my goodness, though. Lenny boy, Lenny boy. When he learn, Lenny boy. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Lenny boy, you know. Is that hurt your heart? Lenny boy got that adrenaline. Y'all hear that? Lenny boy is crashing out. That's Lenny boy's heart. That's Lenny boy's heart. Oh my goodness. Lenny boy is at your heart. Oh my goodness. That's Lenny boy's heart, right? It really is.
Thank you for the likes.
Thank you for the likes. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Chandra. I appreciate it. So Lenny boy, though, you think you won a box? Uh-oh. Boy, I tell you. Oh my goodness. It's been another TKO. Oh my goodness. Boy, Lenny boy has been knocked out. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about virtually knocked out. You know, when it come down to dealing with all these policies that are coming from our favorite president that we all know and love, and that's President Donald J. Trump, man. He is delivering to the American people, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go ahead and take a look. He's been delivered. Boy, I tell you, man. Ain't it a beautiful thing, though? Boy, we are in a better situation than we ever been before. Lenny boy, Lenny boy, boy, Lenny boy, Lenny. You ain't no Lenny Kravitz. Lenny. Lenny boy, Lenny. I mean, they just all clowning you, Lenny boy. You won't have anything for nobody, Lenny boy. Yeah, look at him. You see, look at this, man. He is upset. He's crashing out right now. You're fat, chatty gas bag, like a diaper Don. See, he's up here, boy. He's upset. I got him. I told y'all when they crash out. I ain't have to see. I don't even have to make personal comments because I don't know him. He can throw comments at me, thinking I'm gonna bite and play that game. Sorry, Lenny. You are on a You are in a. You know where you are. You're at a disadvantage, sir. You look at the people in the chat; they just clowning you as well, like I am. You know what I'm saying? Boy, Lenny boy, you know, oh my goodness, boy. Ain't this funny though? Lenny boy, he's hot and bothered because who? The American First campaign is running rampant over his what used to be really an old relic now. Study being destroyed, study being devoured by something called the DSA. Democratic Socialists of America, right? Boy, I tell you, yeah, Ain't it sad though? He can always throw what type of educational background we have, right? To want to call us that we're dumb and stupid. He didn't want us throwing the names because you know why? Because intelligent people wouldn't do this. Intelligent people would actually look at the policies of their own party. That's why he ain't denying it. Have he denied anything that I've been reading about the DSA, what they stand for? He hasn't denied any of it. All he wants to do is go to Trump. You notice that? That's what they do. That's why I say game over. Where my bill at? Because I'm just saying though, man, we don't care about what you think, Lenny. You come in my chat. I didn't come in yours. You seek me out. I ain't seeking you out. You ain't never been able to trigger me. Don't you understand, Lenny? You have lost. Right? I don't even know why they're paying you anyway. You don't have no talent for this. Obviously, you are butthurt by facts. Nothing more, like the rest of them. Butthurt by facts. Facts ain't never allowed me to be butthurt. But they have butthurt people like Lenny Boy. Right? And we're going to call him Lenny Boy from now on in. Lenny Boy, Lenny Boy. Boy, I tell you. Y'all like this new format that I have? Because not only that I can do landscape, but I can also do vertical now, you know? And I think this is going to be the future of what I'm going to use, right? This is going to be it right here, you know, the landscape. I can do both. So for y'all at home on your computer, I got you covered too. Because I know I was getting requests. When are you going to do some stuff that's landscape, you know? And I got you covered. I just appreciate you guys because I coming on this morning, you know? Because normally, y'all know my times. I usually do around a little afternoon and so forth, but it's all good. It's all good, you know. But yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, let me see here. I should have been posting some of this stuff though, but we just been over here clowning Lenny Boy so much, you know what I'm saying? Boy, it's just fun, is it? Ain't it fun? Ain't it fun? Lenny, now you're one of us. Ain't it fun? Ain't it fun? Ain't it fun? Ain't it fun? Living in the real world. Ain't it fun, Lenny? Ain't it good? You know? Living on your own instead of under the Democrats, you know? Man. Ooh, man. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, that's the thing. I don't even pay Lenny Boy no mind, though, really. He's just like many of my detractors. And Lenny, you ain't the only one that's done this, you know? You're not the only one. I have so many coming in here, man. So many doing the same thing you're trying to do right now. But once again, they don't have no policy to defend against this. Lenny, just let it happen, Lenny Boy. Let it happen. All right, so let me see here. So on that, you know what I'm saying? Let me see here. What else I was going to? Let me show some video here before we go. Hold on for one moment. Let's go ahead and do this here. We got the flag. Boy, look at that, man. The national anthem. That's sung by Ashley LaRue, ladies and gentlemen. Ashley LaRue. This was at a pickleball tournament. All right, let's do this here. Let me go ahead and pull this up. That's me right there going live right now. Look at that. America first wins. Trump. Look at that, man. Trump policy. Trump. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing, though. Lenny, Trump. You know, that's all we got to say. Who is the man that risked his neck out for brother, man, or anyone. Trump, you damn right. Trump. Let me see here. Let's take a look at it here. Yep. So the American first thing, my dummy. Y'all want to look at my dummy? Because every time this guy opens up his mouth, Zoran, talking about don't mess with the Zoran, my dummy. Let's go ahead and pull him up here, Look at this crap here. Let me just play this crap again, man.
Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal, the architect of a horrific genocide against the Palestinian people. He is responsible for the killing of more than 73,000 people, for the maiming of tens of thousands of children as those who survive undergo amputation without anesthesia, for the targeting of neonatal hospitals.
I don't know why they got to put the music behind though, because it's not easy. It's not convincing the people, man. Let me see. Let's play this one.
Hey, how's it going?
I have 2 questions.
Okay. It says here, New York Mayor Zoran Mondumi on arrest warrant for Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This is a mayor, right, of New York, unfortunately, because he really didn't have very much competition. But look at it. This one here.
US President Donald Trump has responded to claims that Israel's president could be arrested. That'd be Israel's prime minister, I presume, would be arrested when he visits the United States. New York's Mayor Zoran Mamdani says he's considering an arrest should Mr. Netanyahu visit New York for the United Nations General Assembly, which will be held later on in the year. He says Prime Minister Netanyahu is a war criminal.
Y'all see that photo in the background of Trump with that fist up and the American flag? Fight, fight, fight. How you like that, Lenny boy? Look at that. Look at that, Lenny boy. Look at that.
Who has been charged by the International Criminal Court. Mr. Trump has denied the possibility of any arrest, though. He's written on Truth Social overnight, Benjamin Netanyahu will not be arrested in any way, shape or form while in the United States of America. He's fighting against the Islamic Republic of...
Look at that. Exactly, right? He's fighting against the Islamic Republic of Iran.
The only ones that should be arrested are the people that led Iran into this unprecedented spiral of death and destruction, something that should have been dealt with years ago by previous...
And this is coming from Trump right here, right? He's just telling you guys who should be arrested. This is coming from Trump himself right here, boy. That's the thing about it. Boy, I say, man. Let me see here. What else here? Propaganda puppet. Let me see. A woman who fled Iran, right? Issues warning about my dummy. Yeah, I don't even call him my dummy. I call him my dummy, right? You know what I'm saying? Breaking. It says here, Jeffries asked if he agrees with Mondumi. I don't want to hear from Jeffries at all. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to hear from Hakeem Jeffries. You know why? Because every time they ask this guy a question, he's gonna revert straight to Trump, right? Let's hear what John Fetterman has to say real quick.
He's a member of the Senate Homeland Security Committee and one of the few Democrats who supports Israel and the president's efforts there. Senator, great to have you this morning.
Marino.
Oh, gee, Maria, thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, let's talk about paying for this war and the defense supplemental and this push from some of your colleagues to cut off all aid to Israel in the middle of a war.
Well, look, America is the arsenal to the free world, whether it's in Ukraine or whether it's in Israel or whether it's in the Middle East and perhaps maybe even in Taiwan as well. That costs a lot of money, and I'll be the one Democrat, at least the one Democrat, that's going to be open to that argument. We have to replenish, with those kinds of critical munitions and other things. So I'm always going to proud to stand with our military and never make it about politics. But I also deeply, deeply grieves for the two heroes that we lost yesterday that was announced now too. It's a dangerous, dangerous job to defend defend democracy.
It sure is. And they put their lives on the line to do just that. And I want to get your take at this upcoming week, because this week is probably the final window to get anything really done in terms of the Reconciliation 3.0 or this supplemental money. What are your expectations for this debate and markup Wednesday and Thursday?
I really don't have any specific insights, but describe what's happened in the past. I refuse to make it about politics overall. And now I hear things, it's crazy. They're talking about another shutdown. Now that would put me at odds, with the Democratic Party. I will never vote to shut our government down. We have to find a better way. That's a core responsibility. And now the reasons why we shut our government down, whether it's healthcare or reforms with ICE, neither of those ever happen. So it's a loser for American. And now I know there are my colleagues that don't want to do these things, but I'll stand up to the party and say, this is wrong to do that. So that's the situation. And it's very disappointed that would be the third shutdown in like 9 months. That's insane.
Senator, it complicates things that you've got these very far left candidates winning and socialists now in leadership positions. I mean, you've got the mayor of New York, Zoran Mamdani, threatening that he will have Benjamin Netanyahu arrested if he comes to New York for the UNGA, which is happening in September. What are your thoughts here on Mamdani threatening to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he comes to the U.S.?
It's such a tough guy to say that kind of thing. He has no way to do that. Of course, obviously, America's not even part of that corrupt court. And so he's just a clown to even say that. So he won't try that. And I'll just sit down and focus on the problems that they have in New York. That's really not your purview. You and I know that. Sit down.
Yeah. And yet you've got colleagues on in the Democrat Party pushing to upend the president's agenda. I mean, the president has been putting America first. What do you want to say to some of your colleagues who really won't allow the president any wiggle room whatsoever? They want to stop and upend his agenda at every turn.
Well, what I will say, the agenda, there's some things that I support and then some that I don't really agree with. But now we've got to find a better way forward and not turn to shutting our government down or describe people that they're trying to destroy our democracy or get involved in those silly kinds of arguments overall. Iran is absolutely, that's important. Now, remember, they have nuclear dust. Why isn't that important? Why doesn't that justify to continue to justify these kinds of strikes? I think it's an important thing to break the Iranian military regime as they continue to do. Now, Democrats, people that are running, like the guy in Michigan, he refused to even criticize Iran. We'll criticize America, we'll criticize people in the Democratic Party, but not the guy that just massacred 30,000 young Iranians. And
he's talking about El Saeed Abdullah and things, but he's running for senator, but he's trying to distance himself. He's still the DSA as well too, but he's running for senator, so therefore we're going to shut that down, make sure that what's going to hurt El Saeed Abdul is going to be because of his position where he stands, which is the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America. And that's what's going to be, it's going to come back and bite a lot of them right now. It's already they're seeing it. This is why we're going to overtake these midterms and things. So as long as we get out there and do what we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, which I have faith in with the American people.
Streets a couple months ago.
Yeah, that's a great point. And, I've seen you with Lindsey Graham. I've seen you with other Republicans trying to work together. You are a Democrat, and yet you are not afraid to reach across the aisle. And yet your colleagues are attacking even the legacy of the former South Carolina Senator, Lindsey Graham.
Yeah. I'm proud to call Senator Graham as a friend. We bonded over our love and devotion to Israel. Senator, he was working on important work. Now, great, there's this picture. Yeah, he was a great American. It doesn't mean that he was just a Republican. That doesn't change that he's a great American. And now his legacy, and I can't wait to vote on that, the Ukrainian, bill, the Russian kinds of sanction, and now also what he's involved, normalizing Israel and Saudi Arabia. That's important stuff that he was doing. If anything, that poor man worked to death. He was always committed to get things done and work together. He was a very bipartisan guy. Yeah, there might be some professional wrestling kind of stuff in public, but in privately, he was always the first guy to cross the bridge and to find a way forward and be very, very agreeable. You can't fill those shoes without a doubt. But I think it's also fantastic that his sister's now, it seems like she's going to be able to carry on that legacy.
Yeah, Darlene Graham was voted in, was named his replacement. But Senator, you've said that the Democrat Party has officially become the anti-Israel party. And you said that you've got no plans to leave. But if they were to go even further into that, that would be your breaking point. What do you mean?
Yeah, well, candidates in a party runs on the party's platform. If the Democratic Party puts anti-Israel kinds of terms in that platform, that would force me to kind of reevaluate, should I remain as a Democrat? Now, if you look and you reference that vote, now 103 Democrats are voting supporting Israel. And if you look at the kind of people that are winning the primaries in Democrat across the country, whether in my state or whether in New York or whether in Colorado, and potentially what might happen in Michigan too, if that becomes official, even Jewish kinds of organizations like J Street are doing events with people like Hassan Piker. I mean, how can you embrace people like that? That Hamas is 1,000% better than Israel. If we became the kind of party that would embrace someone like Hassan Piker, maybe my party doesn't want like a reasonable, common sense kind of Democrat that reminds people that standing with Israel, that at least used to be part of our core values, and one of the reasons why I've been proud to be a Democrat.
That's right. Senator, thanks very much for your leadership. We so appreciate your time this morning. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Maria.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
He's a member of the Senate Homeland Security Committee and one of the few Democrats.
All right. So even John Fetterman, ladies and gentlemen, even for what he has to say, right? Boy, it doesn't get any better, right? It just constantly makes it worse for these people, right? This is the thing, boy. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, so yeah, as I always do, I cook them, these DSA people, and they have been exposed. They know about their policies. There's no hiding, right, whatsoever. We know about these people's policies and stuff and how much that they're trying to push. They're talking about changing the Constitution, the Democrat Constitution. Don't even sound right. Boy, I tell you, come from the South, Dakota Fanning. Man, now how you going to call that Dakota Fanning like that, Oh, my goodness. And what's wrong with coming from the South? Boy, and then he act like he even know these people personally, man. Even myself, Boy, he act like he know these people. But yeah, I think I like that format a lot better, ladies and gentlemen, for the most part of it. It runs a lot more cleaner. That takes up less of a ram hog and stuff, But yeah, let me see here. What else do we have to show you guys? And stuff. I know you probably have already.
US President Donald Trump
Let's
has
see here. Let's take a look at it here. Let me see here. Fetterman slams Mondami. Yeah, a lot of them slam Mondami. This is not a person. Crazy people running around. New Yorkers sound off. Let me see. And let's look at this here.
And look, it comes as no surprise that wealthy Americans are ditching their New York residences. The guy who thought a pied-à-terre tax was a good idea, maybe he should have taken a few more economics classes at Bowdoin College, because when asked by the New York Times how he defines working class, well, he needed to buy a vowel.
Hold on. Let's just be clear. Mondami never worked in his life. He's a trust fund baby. His parents were already millionaires in Uganda, This guy never had a job before. The first job that Mondami ever had is what we see right now. And he can't even run. It's the craziest thing. These are crazies, man. Let me go ahead and let Lauren go ahead and let her play.
I think if you have to work to pay your bills, I think that is one definition of being a part of the working class.
So that's everyone with a W-2? Is that kind of
1099s too? I think it's I'm less interested.
So someone making $250,000 a year is working class?
I mean, I haven't sat at home and asked myself where it starts and stops.
We didn't ask you to sit at home. We asked you to know something. But that's what happens to your brain when you live life on TikTok and major in Africana studies. Even the New York Times couldn't avoid calling him out on his verbal diarrhea.
Politically, if you're saying everyone is the working class or anyone that gets a salary is the working class, yes, that opens up your tent. But practically speaking, we are divided by income, and especially if you want to tax people, where you draw those lines matters.
I've drawn it at about $1 million a year.
Okay. So anyone under $1 million a year in income is working class?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying in terms of the practicality when it comes to fiscal policy.
He does that goofy laugh thing. Kamala cackled, and he does that weird smiling. It's so annoying. The socialist experiment is already crumbling, and that is not funny. Because instead of empowering the people, his policies have empowered criminals.
I don't feel safe in the subway generally. They say there's lower crime, but I don't see that. It doesn't seem like it's such a big priority for him.
And there's times at night that I don't feel safe walking back to my friend's apartment alone if I'm alone.
There's been a lot of stabbings. Like a random man was stabbed on the subway, and there was no motive or anything. So that was a little scary.
The subway is not that safe. All kind of homeless, crazy people running around. They're police down there, but what? They're in one car, big deal. What about the rest of the cars?
Well, here to weigh in is Lisa Booth, Fox News contributor, Ned Ryan, American Majority CEO and executive producer of The Thread of Liberty. Lisa, I know you've lived in New York on and off for years. How can he fight for the working class? First of all, his policies are terrible, but he really can't even define it. It's like a TikTok moment, and none of it actually adds up, even in his own mind, to the extent that exists.
Well, Laura, Mamdani is like the class or, child running for student body president. And he promises all these free things, free ice cream, free candy, no homework. And then it runs into the buzzsaw of reality that is actual governing. That's budgets of having to get things done. But he can't define the working class, Laura, because the Democrat Socialists of America, it's not about the working class. That's just a Trojan horse for the DSA to seize power within the Democrat Party. And then also America, you can look at the DSA's own survey from 2021. 80% have degrees. Most are white collar workers. Only 4% have blue collar jobs. And then you look at the real platform, that's what really tells the story about what they want to do. And what they want to do is destroy America by stealing from us the things that we have earned, by abolishing private property, destroying the things that keep us safe, like the police
good.
or
You know, I
prisons
know
or wanting
remember
open
Agnes
borders.
is
And then
good, man.
lastly,
He's
what
good,
they
man.
do is want to
Yeah,
destroy the
he's good, man.
institutions that keeps
Agnes is
checks
good.
on
He's been on
power,
the road
like
before.
packing the Supreme Court, getting rid of the
He's
Senate,
Pelosi
and getting rid of the Electoral
has
College.
been a perpetual.
Yeah, and then not even the Democrats, the local congressmen,
Where
they're
he
fed up
looks
with the conditions on the streets. Watch this.
the crypt keeper.
The streets
That's the point.
are littered
I
with
like
hundreds
he got
of
the
syringes.
there with
The pedestrian
yeah, Lenny
plaza
boy. It looks like he
is
is
full of
here.
loitering and drug trafficking and homeless encampments.
He owned them again.
Okay, and Ned, one of these encampments is about 12 city blocks. It's a tent city right outside of the beautiful Intrepid Museum, and they're paying for syringes. That's a new program in New York, according to the, I guess that's in the New York Post. New York Fox News actually did the piece.
We can go ahead and mention. What about?
I will say this: you bought the ticket, enjoy the ride. I mean, the Democrat Party's been embracing these socialists for years. Brought them in, wanted to use the energy to gain political power, and now they realize they've got a massive problem. First of all, the far left is never going to be content with not having full power inside the Democrat Party. So moderates and the establishment are starting to realize we're next on their list. They're going to take us out as well. They welcome the Viper into their embrace, and the Viper is going to take them out. And the other thing, too, is they realize this is not going to be a winning campaign promises for the midterms and beyond. It might work in places like New York and Seattle and LA, but you get into the rest of the country, you get into the independents, this message does not play. So I think they're realizing we have boxed ourselves into a corner and actually put ourselves into tremendous trouble politically. And by that, I mean the Democrat establishment.
Lisa, we sent out one of the Angle producers, just asked people how it was going so far. Watch this response.
So how are things going under Mamdani?
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. So what are some of the promises that he's made that he's delivered on?
Thus far, I can't point to super specifics, but I think that
Let me know if you guys can hear me. He said I can hear you over the video.
like an Obama-like energy to politics.
Okay, so Lisa, people are supposedly.
Okay, that's better. Sorry about that. Can't hear me over the video. Okay, there we go. I stopped that. Okay, gotcha. It's playing louder than my voice. All right, let me take a look at here. See, because when I'm at home on my home studio, I have a mixer that I can bring that down. But the only way I can do that here, I can actually bring it down here too. Okay, that's better. All right, yeah.
Excited.
You guys,
because of the Obama-like energy.
I just turned it down.
I mean, I'm in New York.
But that's okay though. All right, I actually paused that. Thank you so much for reminding me. Yeah, because I ain't got my earphones with me either, though. Usually I have my headphones, but that's okay. Yep, that's okay. But I appreciate you guys for coming into the chat and things like that. Boy, I tell you, man. Yes, Kamala Harris is a drunk too. You right about that? They got a lot of drunks, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, a lot of drunks. Yeah, but I appreciate you guys for coming. Like I said before, coming into the room and stuff and having this chat. There we go. That's better. Yeah. So yeah, it's been really cool. And for those that are coming in now, please don't forget, if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button, like button and things, share this information with others and stuff like that. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful thing though too. I'm about to get ready to head up on out of here. Do my thing though, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, it's beautiful outside. Nice sunny weather and things like that. I'm gonna get ready to go out here and get to work. Gotta get to work. But yeah, man, I appreciate you guys for coming on this morning, being a part of something great. Some Random Guy Speaks. Again, I'm your host, Tony Love. I appreciate my mod squad in here. And I appreciate Agnes and others that come in here, Dakota, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate you guys for coming here as return guests into the chat, because that's basically what it is over here. We have a country to save. We've been doing a lot of pushback. Brian Reedy came in here as well and things. So therefore, our Coconuts Are Real came in here and stuff. I don't know if Black Guy 9 came in and I know this is a little, he might be at work, but that's okay though. This is what I'm about to do is go to work and stuff. But yeah, man, I appreciate you guys, man, for showing up, showing out, because we are going to stop this insanity. The people aren't fed up, man. They're not dealing with this stuff no more. That's why I shared this video with you guys. It's pretty evident and obvious that Mondummy, one of the worst, and the rest of them ain't too far behind, man. They're not too far behind. But other than that, I got to get on out of here and stuff like that. I prefer my phone, let me see, to be used as a camera. Okay, and then that change, blah, 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 to different videos or new pronunciation. Support their new pronunciation. Let me see. All right, let's look at that. Blah, blah, blah. But they kind of going at it here. When we going live again, Tony? Coconuts are real. I'm gonna go live tomorrow, but it's gonna be at probably around noon and things. I'm gonna do that tomorrow. Coconuts are real, so I'm gonna go live tomorrow around noon and things. Where we'll go at it again. But I appreciate y'all for coming in here, man. Let me see it. Dakota says yes. The same Thanos that murdered half of the universe, right? I'm a big Marvel fan on there. I know what you're talking about Thanos, you know. Oh, yeah, man. Can you imagine putting on the gauntlet, you know, and snapping my finger, you know, to make the DSA go away forever, man? Damn, you know. Boy, I tell you, Let me see. Lenny says, yes, the MAGA half, all would be well. A beautiful life. Well, I definitely heard a lot worse than that, though, you know. Have a wonderful day, MAGA libs. Can keep crying and stomp their feet. Yeah, I know, right? The concept of MAGA is very simple. We want to go back to the days of everything made in America, when it actually lasted and better than the planet. Chinese crap. Yeah, I want that to happen too, Agnes, man. I want to see that made in America once again. And we will see made in America once again. It just takes time to build. They got to rebuild these manufacturing plants, man, and stuff. And that's what they're working on now. Boy, I tell you. But yeah, I appreciate you all. I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. Peace and chicken grease. I am out. Where's my, I got to put up my Star Spangled Banner. Just give me a minute. That Spangled Banner. Where are you at here? We got to go ahead and play that. You know how, hey, there it is. We're going to play the Star Spangled Banner. I appreciate you guys for being a part of something great. Once again, Some Random Guy Speaks. I am your host, Tony Love, and I'll see y'all tomorrow around noon, right? Peace and love.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave through the night that our flag was